We ripping? What are we ripping? What are we ripping? Are we looking at a little Wells Fargo? What is going on? Happy Friday. Hope everyone is doing amazing on this fine Friday the 19th, 2024, April. I threw those all in there randomly. But hey, it's a Friday, and we are looking at charts. What could be better? I don't know. The S&P is down again. Take a look at this chart, by the way. Nice, very, very nice pullback. Very nice pullback. And a little more momentum, that's for sure, today on the S&P. It's now, I mean, technically, are these all red days? Yeah, I guess so. You're now going to be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, no, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red days in a row on the S&P, which we have not seen that in a while. It's been a long time since we've seen that, so that's pretty cool. We also have the NASDAQ getting nailed a lot harder. That's down 2% today. The Dow, believe it or not, is actually green in this nice little consolidation. The Russell is red, but not that red, barely. And semiconductors are getting absolutely rocked. That is an update on the day. Just like that. Hola, what's going on, baby? What is going on? We are, you know what's funny too? Yesterday, I believe, what is the ticker symbol? I don't even remember the ticker symbol. Yesterday, we were talking about Wells Fargo breaking out, and I entered yesterday, and we're, well, maybe not halfway. We were at one point about halfway to our target already, which is awesome on a swing trade. So we'll see what happens with this guy. But yeah, looking for Wells Fargo to continue. I can probably move my stop loss up. I will probably do that next week. I'm not really doing that right now. And we'll kind of go from there. But that's the deal. Wells Fargo over $60 looks great, surprisingly, because very good volume too, by the way. And today looks like it's going to shape up for more. Very good volume. There's surprisingly on this one too, that the market's down the past couple of days, and that's up. Very interesting. XLF financials are up. So there you go. Now, pair this with the bounce in the markets, maybe because the S&P is down 6 days in a row. We could be looking at take profit next week, which would be awesome. Despite a downtrending overall market, that could be kind of cool. Okay, so that's that. The 10-year, what's the 10-year doing? 10-year is down a little bit today, but massive lower wick. If we saw, I didn't even notice this, but check this out. Overnight, last night, we actually had a massive move down in futures, I guess, relatively speaking. It was a big move down. I didn't even realize any of this. I had no idea. I remember waking up this morning and seeing, no, it was last night, right before I literally put my phone away. I saw Bitcoin was down to 60K or something like that. I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And then I woke up this morning and it was Bitcoin's at 64K or whatever it was. So 60, yeah, it's at 64. I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. It's kind of making some moves. But I didn't realize the S&P was down huge overnight. This is overnight. And must have been some news, I don't even know. And then bouncing back lower high and now rolling back over so far today, but not making new lows compared to last night on futures on the S&P. The NASDAQ, though, yes, it has. The NASDAQ has made new lows compared to last night on futures. This trade recap won't come out for a couple of days, but I had a trade on the NASDAQ short underneath this blue line right here on this consolidation break. And then it kind of consolidated under the break, and then it went for a nice push, and I got out. Wasn't a big trade, but it was a nice little win, so I'll take it. But yeah, that's where we kind of are sitting. Missed doubling down on my SOXS. Looking back, dude, that would have been good. Would have been good, but you can't get too caught up in that. Let's check out what Nvidia's up to. Oh shit, I didn't even know. Oh shit, that's down a lot today. Shit. I haven't even been looking at it. That's a big one right there on the daily. Remember that AMD? I was like, yeah, I want to short this thing right underneath this 165, and then it kind of pushed below. Then it bounced back and then went below, but then it didn't have momentum and stuff, right? Look at what ended up happening. It eventually went, but that's kind of the nature of what happened with the market, right? Kind of chopping down lower, and then eventually. Now we're getting that flush. Now, finally, okay, here we go. But just for me, you can look at that and say, oh, fuck, I missed it. Yeah, whatever. I should have and could have been looking at these charts for day trades, and maybe there was, And as I look over at AMD, maybe there was something right here. Maybe there was something there that could have been traded. This breakdown. But then I was around the same time as the NASDAQ trade, so would have been fine to trade that too. Let's check out NVIDIA. Was there a day trade opportunity on NVIDIA that would have fit my criteria today? Maybe. Depends on how I viewed these at the time, but maybe there was something there. Maybe there was something there as well to be had. So maybe there were some opportunities. Yeah. But I'm not going to get too worried. Oh, man, NVIDIA's down 9% today. Whoa, that's a pretty big move. That's a big one. Yeah. Kind of crazy. Look at that. 9%. Jeez. Well, there you have it. Doesn't mean that it can't bounce back, but I mean, wow. Pretty impressive. Netflix had earnings, I believe, so they are down 9% as well. You've got Meta down 4%. That's a decent move down. Meta's been kind of holding up, and now it's getting hit a little bit. Apple, again, just kind of slowly moving down. Not insane, but it's slowly moving down, and it's doing what we kind of suspected. Like, not surprised. It's pulling back and pulling through this level after what we talked about on a couple days ago. I traded it yesterday. I only made $30 because I lost and then I won. And then I netted out a positive $30, which was cool. Better, risk reward, I guess, but nothing to write home about. Israel striking Iran was starting to be priced in. Yeah, it's possible. I'm sure, to be honest, like that had a decent. What the hell is this? Is that a bug? Jeez, I just killed a bug on my shirt. That's crazy. Yeah, the whole all that stuff. It's kind of. Maybe that's partly why gold and silver are doing so well too, as of late. But I don't know, it's kind of a weird environment too. Look at gold. Gold was pushing up and maybe attempting a new high there, by the way, and then it just kind of got stuffed a little bit. That was overnight. Last night, I guess. Yeah, gold looks strong though still, right? Pushing up with higher lows. Silver, same, well, more of a consolidation on silver. You can probably make the argument that if you break above $29 on silver, that we're probably pushing towards 30. That's probably a decent argument to be made there on silver on like the bigger time frames. Yeah, that looks pretty good as it's just not kind of consolidating now. So it's kind of cool. You got maybe some good setups on silver and gold setting up here soon. Oil is kind of wonky. Very wonky. Very, very weird. Big spike up overnight, probably to do with the market and stuff. We had some news, whatever. And then it came right back down to yesterday's level, but then it bounced. I would be skeptical of this. Like, this is not a good look, in my opinion. I do not like that. And because it came right back down. So I would say if we break underneath this 81, I was looking at the daily time frame, I believe. And underneath 81, I think there's a good move down to like 79, 78.50. This volume profile or this volume gap. That's what I'd be looking for. Like next week on oil. We'll see what happens over the weekend. Of course, I wouldn't play anything over the weekend. But if we break down under 81 next week, that could be interesting. I might play that. I might. But not really a rush to do so. No need to rush. So, yeah. Semis are popping, baby. They are popping. And holy crap. Look at that move on SMCI. Now, hey, this is the same spot, the 700 area that it bounced massively a couple weeks ago. I guess that was more than a couple weeks ago. That was like almost 2 months ago. But that's a big move. I don't know if I would short these things. I would definitely not short them right now. They got to consolidate a bit for that, for me, because after some big moves, but that's down 22%. SMCI right now is down around 22%. That's crazy. Again, it's the same thing. Like, I'm not going to, because I don't care and I have no interest, and there's no I told you so because I didn't. Okay. If it was me, I probably would have sold SMCI if I was long, way early. You know what I mean? So I probably wouldn't have maximized anyway. But the problem that these moves tell me is that this stuff is not, like, obviously not trading because of valuations. It's not because, oh, this is the next big thing and these companies are actually undervalued. No. This is all hype and momentum. When that dies, the move down can be massive. So don't get fucked. Like, don't get caught in these massive moves down if you had amazing gains. So, be proactive. And that's what I've been saying about NVIDIA this whole time. Be proactive. NVIDIA almost hit $1,000. Now it's at under 770. Not saying that you would have bought the top necessarily, but if you did, you're down 20% already. And that's not even that wouldn't even be that big of a deal. You could be down massively if you mistime some of these. And if you happen to buy it a long time ago and you didn't do anything on the way up, you're going to be riding the wave unless you're willing to ride that wave. Or if you don't want to ride that wave or you wanted to eventually take profits off of some of these positions and you didn't do it on the way up, well, everyone tends to do so now on the way down because they're panicking that, oh my God, I got to get out now. And is that the best idea either? Because when you bounce, then you're going to go get FOMO and get back in on the bounce, and then you're going to be a lower high. And it's like you can see how that can easily destroy you. Fear and greed, by the way, we are approaching extreme fear, which I mean, let's be real. I don't know about that. Even if we got the dial into extreme fear, I don't know how much I would buy that being like, are we really that bad? I don't know. I don't know. All I would tell you is that Wells Fargo probably would not be breaking out to new high. Is that an all-time high? Close. Wells Fargo probably would not be approaching all-time highs, breaking out like a beautiful bull flag if we were, in extreme fear. Probably not. So you just got to find, it depends upon the sector that you're looking in. And that's what you'll see. So like right now, certain sectors, semis, pretty fearful, right? Makes sense. They were super strong. Now they're getting beaten down. And just beating them down a little bit is not that big of a deal. Like they can pull back for a couple more days and then still be up massively compared to everything else or compared to a lot of other sectors when you look back at it. Energy and oil. How is XLE doing? Here's XLE's chart. It's up today. It's back tested the prior all-time high, I believe, which was at like 95 or 94.50 or so. And then was that? No, maybe it's not an all-time high. No, it's not all-time high. XLE was higher back in 2014. My bad. But it's just a back test for now. But yeah, we're getting some. I'm excited. I like the action we're getting now. It's good. I'm really, I like it. Because now you're getting good moves. I mean, you're getting some really nice moves. And we were talking about remember we were talking about Unity software. Remember this stock? And we were saying, yeah, look at this breakdown, big weekly breakdown. Like now, and now you're getting some good moves, dude. I mean, like that's simple as that. Like you're getting some good moves. You're getting some better momentum. You're getting a little bit less chop. It's to the downside. And I personally, I prefer the downside. I think I trade it better. The moves are a little bit faster, I think. And I think they're a little bit cleaner. So I prefer the downside. Although my only position right now is long. I did take a short on the 5-minute time frame today, which was fun. And I'm like kind of getting the vibes of like October back, which were like, those were some good vibes. That was my best month of last year, was October. And it was like the worst month of the market. So not that means you have to get downside to be green, but when you could be, if it's kind of cool when you're good almost at when things are selling off, because most people are not. And maybe that's just because of psychology. Maybe that's just because I've gotten beaten so many times and burnt to a crisp longing stuff that I can kind of get a good feel for like when I see long stuck, when I see breakdowns and then playing the breakdowns and then the moves they're just cleaner. But yeah, it's a good thing, man. I think it's a much needed A. And it's not even that bad. Like in the grand scheme, it could be a lot worse. We could just bounce from here. Like ARK is another one. Oh man, like ARK's another one of those now that like that's getting crushed off of where it was. And now that becomes maybe enticing as a dip buy. Down 20% in the past month or so, month and a half. 20% is pretty big, man, on an ETF. Like now that becomes maybe more enticing because a lot of the stocks in there have gotten nailed. So if I was like, hey, I want to throw money in the market again, well, then that could be one. I was in ARK. I luckily exited completely by luck, I think, back when it was up in the upper 40s. Bitcoin's little feisty here, you know, a little feisty. I'm gonna get rid of these lines because they're not really useful right now to me. She's like, it almost wanted to die and dump down into the 50s under 60K, but both times it came below, it just snapped right back. So something I would not short it right now. Took profit on IWC short, nice, because I'm sure that's down freaking. I mean, from where it was, right? Technically today it's up, but if you look at the chart, that got nailed. Underneath here, look at this, like underneath this level, 114, very nice move down. Very nice move. Is that like 5%, 4.5 roughly, from the break to the lows? Shopify could be an interesting one underneath 68. Let's check large caps again here. Tesla drilling to new lows of the year. They have earnings on Tuesday though, so be careful. But that's a nice move. That just filled this gap today. It filled this gap from back here off the earnings back in January of last year. So that's nice. And I think that's like the next area of interest, you know, is going to be down here. It did bounce off the low hundreds. Are we headed back? That's a long way down still. But is that where we're headed? See how earnings reacts and stuff. Target's actually up today. Nvidia's down like 10% almost now. XBI, how is XBI doing? Can't imagine it's doing good. Yeah, down 1.5 today. Right into the volume node though. Smacking into it. So now it's a question of, I mean, it doesn't have to be a question. If you feel like you must play the game, then you can get in as involved as you can get as involved as you want. Get as involved as you want in buying dips. The thing is, now you kind of have them. Like, you didn't really have them a couple weeks ago, but now you can say, yeah, you got them. Depends upon what sectors you want to look at. You want to look over at risk on, and you've got some nice dips. You want to look over at large caps. The only ones I would say you've got some nice dips is semis. But the problem with semis is that while yes, you have some nice dips, I mean, they are still up a lot from where they were. So you are playing with something that potentially has more downside from that if you play like a return to mean perspective, looking at if you're thinking of things that way. So I don't know how interested I would be in buying that. Although if the markets go back up and we have a strong year, then you would imagine that this sector could hold the strength, and it could be, a place to be buying dips. The thing is that in a sector like that, you want to buy the dip on the weakness until it no longer has that relative strength. And right now it does not have it, but you can't judge just by one day or a couple days. It's going to take time on the bigger time frames to judge. So we'll have to see how this digests a bit. But right now, semis are definitely the weaker links. Let's check these large caps, though, and see what these charts look like. So Apple, obviously breaking down, looks decent for shorts. Adobe as well. This one, I liked it, but then, I don't know, dude. I think it could be a really good short. I think it really could be still. Honestly, you can even short that versus today's high and play that as a swing. That's what I was thinking just now. Like if you went short right now you are playing it at the low of the day, but you're swinging it versus this 477 as your stop loss, and you're looking for like roughly a 2-to-1 just as a gauge. then that's targeting 435, 436, which if you zoom out on the volume profile, I think makes sense. Yeah, that does. Like that makes sense. That would fill this volume gap right here. So that's actually not a bad idea. I do like that trade idea on Adobe. AMD's already going for it. Amazon finally showing something because it broke a new all-time high barely, and now it's getting nailed. Caterpillar was super strong. Now it's a little bit weaker, but still pretty good. Enphase cleaning up this move a little bit to the downside, but still choppy. Not a super strong move. Google's pretty strong, relatively speaking. Home Depot, that's been weak, but now it's consolidating. Meta's down nicely today, but I would not short it right there. mRNA, this one is a little interesting, a little interesting to me. You had this spike that got rejected at this 115 or 116 area, which, by the way, happens to be a perfect, tag of this high as well. So it like perfectly touched that. And now you're testing the trend line. So I have an alert on the trend line. You're testing the trend line. Is it a high volume test or break? No, volume is not super high, especially as of late. The volume is very low, actually. But if we get a high volume day next week, she could be one to keep in the back burner. If you play the breakdowns of trends, the only problem is that you've got earnings in May. You got earnings in May, so you have like a week and a half or so to play. Microsoft getting rejected nicely at this 429, 430, and now coming down. Netflix, obviously we talked about. Netflix has a pretty big gap to fill, down to like 502, so like down to $500 on Netflix. It's just I wouldn't short Netflix the day after or the day of earnings or whatever, the day after that reaction. I wouldn't do it. Nvidia's down 9.6% on the day. It's down $81.5, almost $82. $82 a share. Crazy. I'm sure there were some nutty option plays on that. For someone, I'm sure some people were on that and they got some incredible thousands and thousands of % gains, especially when this happens on a Friday. Because if you are like a total degenerate and you play today's expirations, the morning we opened up at like 8:35. So if you bought 800 puts on Nvidia today at the morning, like you could have potentially bought them for cheap, and now they are worth $35. So I mean, I don't know what the numbers would have been, but I would imagine you could probably have gotten them for like $1 or so, maybe less. And now they could be worth, it could be like a 35x, maybe more. Maybe I'm underestimating. So that's nuts. Nutty. But the believe it or not, the Dow is actually up. The Dow is actually up. I guess I can get rid of some of these lines. Five-minute S&P looks like it's about to go for a new low a day and break. That could be a trade right there. We got only 20 minutes left, but this is a valid trade idea for me. I'm not going to trade this, but it's a little too close to the close. And I already took a trade today that was a winner, so I'm not going to finish the week off with some stupid shit. But this, I'm curious. Let's see what happens. If this breaks this low, see if we get a nice flush. Maybe we can even get a test of the overnight lows last night. Maybe. Wouldn't have to go that far. Here it comes. There it is. It's testing it right now. I'm going to guess that we're going to break the level. And then the question is it going to be a quick dive for lower in the last 20 minutes, or are we going to fake it and we're just going to go like whoop whoop, Today's been a better momentum day, better momentum week this week in general. So if we had to say and pick and take a guess, you probably have better bets. This is going to break down, and if it breaks this low, it's going to have a nice momentum push. At least you know, for like 10 minutes, at least give us a couple of candles to the downside. But we'll see. There it is. Whoop. Whoop. She's testing it. She's teasing it. Teasing it. If you were to draw, if I was, let's say I was to trade that, how would I go about it? If it wasn't 15 minutes left in the day, then you'd play the breakdown. So right here, enter, and then your stop would be high of, well, at least my stop would be high of the breaking candle. So it'd be right up above here. If this breaks, it's about to, let's see. Is it gonna, yeah, there it is. Okay, now boom, now you'd be in. Okay, cool. Stop loss would be up there, and then I'd look for like a, in this case, you don't have much time, so maybe like a 1.5 to 1 is a better idea. And that kind of gets you, that's a fair trade. I look for at least a 1.5 to 1. If you're not getting 1.5, not ideal. Let's see what happens. So it undercut the lows, and we'll see if it's going to fake or if it's going to go for it. But you have a higher chance of fakes in the first 15, 20 minutes of the day, just as much as the last 15, 20 minutes of the day. So I don't usually touch those. I honestly can't remember the last time I actually took a trade at this point in the day. It's been a long time. It's not worth it. If you were already in something, then that's one thing. But taking a new trade with like the anticipation of it being a day trade and not holding overnight at this late is like kind of wild to me. People do it, but just chilling and waiting on that and see what happens. But other than that, so I have a Wells Fargo long, which is up decently. Hopefully it pans out. Be awesome. And then we get back on. Not that we've been doing. I mean, it feels like I haven't been doing good, but like it's like break even. Like, I just feel like I've been break even trading, which is really what it is. Ooh, a little falsy. We'll see. Should we be hammering? We'll come back to this in a bit. Is it the time to be starting to hammer SVIX? Because here's the thing too with SVIX, right? This is the short the VIX. Yeah, like this looks like a bear flag. I agree, right? But the thing with the VIX is kind of weird is that the VIX generally doesn't kind of do those like consolidate and then go higher. Generally kind of just spikes and then it comes back down eventually and then, chops its way down, little lower highs. So, I mean, if this ends up plummeting here, you're talking, this could be a trade, I guess. It could be a trade. I would say it's more of like a, kind of goes into the category of like a swing investment almost. Like I'm just going to slowly dollar cost average into the short the VIX with a small piece of my portfolio, and then once it comes back up to the mean, returns to the mean up in here, I'm going to get out. And now of course there's no guarantees it does, but interesting idea, I think either way. But yeah, I mean this provides good moves, so I'm curious. Maybe I throw that in my Robinhood and just sit back on it because I have nothing in there other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is kind of funny. But that's what I currently have in the portfolio in Robinhood. Here's the back to that. So I end up playing a little bit of games, but not. So now the thing is, now you run into this game of like, okay, you know, you only have now 14 minutes left until the day's over. So it's like, right? You have a decent breakdown, but momentum is not following through really quickly, and now there's not much time left in the day. This is the most volatile. This could be one of the more volatile times of the day, so anything could happen, but rubs me the wrong way of like thinking that you're going to get more. There's some good moves down, but like to be honest, like I don't know. I'm not seeing like a ton of charts that look really, really, really enticing on the downside. So I think spot, yeah, that would stop out. So there's the fake. So you get a little fakey. Woo-hoo. Cool. Not super surprised. Hence why I don't like to trade these last periods of the day and the beginning of the day. Especially on day trades. No way, dude. No way. Not a chance. Are you going to see me do that? I'll enter or exit something that I was swinging or that I planned to swing, you know, maybe not the first 5 to 10 minutes of the day, not the first 15, but like maybe 15, 20 minutes in. Yeah, why not? After you get a little bit of volume history and you can kind of say, okay, you know, we got some decent, you can tell, you can gauge volume is relatively good or bad or you know, high or low. NVIDIA down now over 10% on the day. Damn. Talk about just absolute blood in the streets right now. This has the earnings gap up. The last earnings gap. Yeah, it was from February. Jeez, that was not that long ago. Is right here. That would fill you down to like the 680 area, which is another $80 from here, which would be like a big ass move, but that's where the gap is on the chart. So there's even some smaller ones below that too. But be careful though with something like this, because after a big move like that, this is great. Don't get me wrong, for like potentially setting up the backside of this trade. But what I would want to see personally would be, you know, some sort of consolidation to some degree, and then it's staying weak and then breaking that consolidation for the initiation of the next leg. And then I'd want to get in, but I definitely have no interest in it now. On a big picture time frame, if you're gonna day trade it, and it's like the way I view the day trade side is like the same setups that I would trade on the bigger time frames. I would day trade. Only thing is, where's the relative weakness or strength? So if we're going down and I'm looking for shorts, then I'm only going to be looking at the top 2 or 3 weaker stocks, right? So if semis are weak, then AMD and NVIDIA are the top 2. I guess you can trade SMCI and TSM and stuff too, but AMD and NVIDIA are probably better liquidity wise. That I would trade, and then you look at those, whatever's the weakest, whatever has the best setup, and then you can play them from there on the shorter time frames if they set up. So that's kind of what ends up happening. I was trading a lot more of that back summer and fall of last year, early fall of last year, and then I started looking more bigger time frames and just kind of was more of a natural progression, I feel like, to just start playing bigger time frames, swinging stuff, playing for bigger moves and less day trade stuff in 5 minutes. Not that it's bad. There's still a skill there, and I enjoy it when the opportunities present. Like if you get a good downside day, momentum downside day or upside day even, and you get a nice little 5 minute chart day trade, boom, awesome. They can be pretty good. But when you have choppy days like we had been seeing in the past couple of weeks, oh dude, you could be sitting there and you can be ripping hair out because you're chopping yourself up, and that is not a place to be. But it also comes, I think it just comes with the territory of like over time you figure it out. Like you get a sense. It's like a sixth sense. I say it's the left nut. You get that left nut sense, and it's like, yep, I just something about it right now. And it's usually not just like saying random shit like that. It's like you can say, oh, because you're seeing S&P chopping around. You're seeing a bunch of some stocks up, some stocks down. And you're like, there's no consistency here. that tells me avoid today because there's a lot of chop. So you wouldn't bother. Gap fills, yeah, the one on Nvidia is down to the last earnings, which is at like 689 or 690 or so. That would be this guy right here, because this is the day before earnings and this is the day after earnings. Big gap up. So it's still got like another, $70-$80. And then there's a small one beyond that down to like 635, 634, or 631, something like that. But the bigger one is the earnings gap up from last earnings, which really wasn't that long ago, but feels like a long time ago. So that's the spot. Now, though, you have, I think next week, you have, this is where we're getting into that game, though. Next couple of weeks, you start now with the earnings. So Tesla's on Tuesday. Nvidia's not out for a while. They don't have earnings until like later in May, about a month out. Netflix just had earnings, bad reaction. Microsoft, for example, has earnings on Thursday next week. So you got some big names. Meta's coming out with earnings on Wednesday next week. So next week is a big earnings week. Google's got earnings on Thursday. Amazon's got earnings, I would imagine, as well soon. That's not out till not next week, the week after that. Apple has earnings not until May 2nd. Interesting. Kind of prolonging that. And then AMD has earnings 30th of April. So the next couple of weeks, you start getting some earnings on some of these big names as well. So that gets interesting. Now, the problem is, though, like we said in the past, don't just assume that, oh my God, it's weak. This actually would be this is a time now, obviously I wouldn't buy and hold shit through earnings, right? But from like, if you're looking at the S&P and stuff and you're saying, how do I want to play it? If you were a contrarian trader, how would I play the contrarian side? Well, fear going into earnings tends to be a pretty good thing for a bounce or for, at least a recovery to some degree. Does that mean the bottom is in? This is just a dip in the bigger scale? Or is it going to be a little bounce and we're going to put a lower high in and go lower? That doesn't really matter, but this could be a good sign. Fear going into earnings get me sketched to think that, we must go lower. Like, I don't know. And you can have those reactions too, where initially off the report, it's not good. Stock dumps. The next day we rip. Like how many times we've seen that? A lot. Happens a lot. So that's kind of the thought too. Just be careful. Next week's going to be fun because of that, because of the unknown. I think it's going to be fun because of the unknown for Tesla. And then we have PCE data coming out next Friday, which everyone's like, that's actually more important than CPI. Okay, cool, great. Well, that's next week. So PCE comes out next Friday, the 26th. And then the week after that, you've got more earnings. And the week after that, you got Apple earnings. So you got more catalysts coming up in the next couple of weeks, which is great. So hopefully we have some good action. And we'll see. Going for the hydro spa therapy. That is the way to do it right there. Enjoy. Have a good weekend, man. That sounds like an awesome time. Yeah, large cappies are definitely pulling in, which is good and bad. Obviously, if you're long them and you're like, oh my God, you're like, it sucks, but it's good because we need some pulls. Things can't stay up forever. Now, the other side to the story is then, risk on getting nailed as well with these guys. Like I said, though, it's a 10 years game. You're playing the 10-year. Like the 10. Is it super surprising that we're going down on risk on? No, the 10-year keeps going up. So I was talking about this yesterday. I mean, based off of what we have in front of us, when you broaden the time frames out, this doesn't look, there is, until this pattern breaks, I'm going to roll with it. I'm not trading it, but I'm going to roll with the pattern. The 10-year looks as if it's headed for a new high. Simple as that, right? We have a series of higher highs and we have a big series of higher lows. The trend is clearly up. The 10-year looks like it wants to go for more. And if that's the case, well, then you may have a couple more weeks or however long it takes of decent downside in risk on. And if that's the case, do you really want to be buying the dip right now? I mean, you could start if you wanted to, but that potentially signals we may be going lower. Maybe. So I would be a little sketched out, at least. Because, I wouldn't be sketched out because you have a plan. Who cares? But if I'm buying, if it was me a couple of years ago where I was going to buy a couple month out options and say, hey, I think that we're going to get a bounce and risk on here. Yeah, it's been really oversold. I think we're going to bounce in ARK. I'm going to go buy ARK calls for like May 25th. I don't know, whatever the expiration is. About a month out. That's cool and all. But if the next month the 10-year breaks a new high and ARK goes to 38, and then from 38 it goes to 50 again in the next 2 months, you're playing a timing game. And so that's just like, you're gambling there. You're gambling big time versus, hey, I'm going to buy ARK shares and I'm going to start dollar cost averaging now. And the lower it goes, I'll just add more accordingly. I'm not going all in. I'm going to slowly add more. Okay, cool. Now you got a plan and you're playing the contrarian side. Great. That can provide better returns in, if you catch those big moves, but it just requires patience, right? And it requires you to actually take profits once you've achieved a big move, which again is up to your discretion at the end of the day. Time is time is this. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but this week has ripped by, I feel like, and it just feels to me, shit just feels incredible. I don't even know. I can't. Maybe it's because I'm sleeping good, eating good, I don't know. Just feels great. It's also recovery week from running for me. So I had last weekend, I did a pretty big run, 19.5 miles on Saturday in the mountains after already increasing mileage during the week leading up. This week, I kind of dropped mileage back. And then this Saturday, tomorrow, I got like a 10-mile run, which is nothing. I mean, that sounds maybe like a lot to some, but compared to what I've been used to the past couple of weeks, that's going to be a piece of cake. That'll be fun. I'll be just rip through that, be done. And then the body was recovering nicely. And then the next 2 weeks after this weekend, we go hard. We go freaking hard. I have like a 20-mile and like a 23 or 24-mile run plan with a shit ton of elevation gain, literally up and down for the whole 20 miles. And after that, I then have like 2 weeks until the race. And then those 2 weeks, I'll just slowly taper miles back, recover, feel good, hopefully. And we'll be ripping it. It's a plan. I was saying I posted on my Instagram story yesterday or 2 days ago. I forget when. Dude, the days are going by fast. But there has been the biggest myth of my entire life was the myth of you can't train for like lifting and strength at the same time as like running and endurance. I mean, you can do it, but you can't get better at both at the same time. Biggest myth of my entire life. I have been running more than I've ever run. 35, 36-mile weeks, 40-mile weeks, maybe not 40 running, but maybe add some hikes in there. 30-plus mile weeks coming in the next day and increasing my strength on, lifts. It feels incredible. And I think the cardio has definitely helped just like from an efficiency standpoint. It's like, it's what actual fitness is and should be. Is what I feel like, because people talk about fitness and the fitness industry is like, oh, I lift or I run or I do this or I do that, but there's not a lot of balance. And like, I feel like I'm finding good balance and it just feels freaking awesome because they really complement each other when you think about it. Now you can go excessive and you can go to excessive degrees in either category. You can go powerlifting or you can go like, you can go 100-mile week runner, yeah, that's a different degree. I understand, but doesn't mean you can't do both. And it's been awesome. But yeah, I have a 57-ish mile race coming up in about a month, literally a month from yesterday, May 18th. That's going to be wild. Going to absolutely break some barriers there in that one. But with that said, the S&P finishes the day down 0.88. The Qs finish down down 2.07, so a lot more weakness there. The Dow actually finished up 0.5%, believe it or not. The Russell up 0.13. Let me just check FinViz really quick. because FinViz, whoa, that's actually kind of crazy to me. We actually had, believe it or not, more stocks advancing today than declining, despite the red. So we got some, I don't know what you want to call that. We got a little something going on. Let's check out how Wells Fargo finished today. This is the only position I have open right now, Wells Fargo, and it so far looks awesome. Awesome, and it looks great on high volume. We love the looks of this. We're looking for 63 next week. We'll see if we get it. And if we do, awesome. If we don't, then we will go cry in a ditch. No, not really. I'll probably move my stop loss, depending on what happens on Monday or Tuesday. I'll likely move my stop loss up a little bit, not to higher than where it's at here. Maybe just below the breakout point, and then eventually to break even, and then, we'll let it go from there. So if it gets to like 61.50, $62, I'll move my stop loss to break even because the trade was great. It just didn't get my like total take profit. The only thing is that this is a 1.6 or so to 1 risk reward, so it's not a 2-to-1. So honestly, I want to see us achieve 60. I'm not going to just be taking profits before. I want to get my target, and then just that's it. Is the plan. So with that said, I'll see you guys next week. And hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy, get outside, do something fun. And it's warming up, so I'm here for it. I have certainly been getting some sun little by little. Get a little bit at a time, and you don't burn, and you feel amazing. Maybe that's the secret. Get tan without burning. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Enjoy.